Chapter 9. I got out of my bed and saw Spade Slick crying, and Spade Slick and I had the exact same conversation as before. I couldn't even believe how psychic I was. On Earth, I often experienced things like that, but my parents just told me I was crazy, said I was delusional, making things up, and didn't know what I was ass talking about. It turned out Spade Slick and Miss Paint really did get engaged, and she really did cut it off. I went back to my bed, which had no Dave in it. Psst, I heard above me, which made me look. Oh. Psst, said the voice above me. I looked up and it was Gamzee. He was in the vents. Hey, Gamzee, what are you doing there? I asked him and he told me I'm going on a date with Tavris and I want you to join. He hand came out of the vent and I held it and he lifted me up, and we crawled into the vents, which had Cheeto dust everywhere, and plopped into Tavris's room. Tavros was in his dorm hive, silently crying. Gamzee, he said with a stutter, and climbed onto Gamzee's lap with a smile. I was just thinking about you. Gamzee grinned. I can always tell, motherfucker. My horns were all up and burning. They were making out, son, and it was an awkward situation because I had no one to make out with, and although Tavros had no idea who I was, so I just sat there and watched because what else was there to do? They were very in love and super cute. This is my Morel, Gamzee said, and pointing at me. I'm Cecile Worcester, I nodded and hugged Tavros. Why were you crying? I had a dream that Gamzee was bleeding puddles into the lake of Skya and he was killed by a giant bear, he said. He knew what a bear was because he watched Brave. Gamzee put Tavros on his lap and brushed his hair gently. I'm still alive, my little motherfucker, he sang like a lullaby. They started making out again and decided to read Tavros' magazine, which was Peter Pan and You. It was a self-help magazine. I saw you in the hospital, said Tavros, and I nodded. Solix must be stopped, he said, shaking a fist in the air. He's hurt so many innocent souls. I asked him who else he'd hurt, and he said that Solix was the one who told Vriska to make him paralyzed, and also that Solix hung out with Spade Slick and was learning to stab and sometimes practiced on tiny animals. I gasped. Are they lovers? No, said Tavros. Spade Slick is his only friend and his mentore. I nodded. Solix and Tavros started to get high and take off each other's pants, so I said, well, I'm gonna go. Bye, said Tavros and Gamzee. I walked outside into the hallway and saw Eridan. My heart fluttered and skipped a beat. Stacia, he said, I missed you so much. I ran into his arms. Where were you? In the hospital, I said. I missed you too. He kissed me immediately and picked me up with his big, strong biceps, which I felt gloriously. You are not safe here, he said bravely, puffing up his amazing chest. I will carry you home. He walked over to my dorm and kicked the door open very macho, which made me swoon, and he flung me on the bed. Eridan kissed me so much I thought my lips were going to fall off. What was that for? I don't need a reason to kiss you, said Eridan. But you look incredibly beautiful right now, he whispered, and we made out heavily. I'm sorry I can't contain myself, he told me as he kissed my neck and I played with his sexy cape with my fingers. I just want to talk, I told him, thinking of Dave. Okay, just 5 more minutes of kissing, he said, and I agreed. 5 minutes later, I was lying on his arms. You got so many flowers, he said. I nodded. Which ones are your favorite, he asked, and I pointed to the ones Dave got me. He smiled and said, those are the ones I gave you. I couldn't believe it. What the fuck was happening here? Who was lying and who was telling me the truth? I had ought know. I started crying and yelled at him to leave. My heart is split in two. Which of my loves is true? Who will win me in the end? Who will just be my friend? Eridan and Dave are the 2 sides of the coin, and one day I will join one of them in matrimony. I would spend all my money just to know how to go out with. I sobbed even harder because Eridan smelled like Solix and I knew he'd probably just got done fucking him, and that was why he was in the hallway. I hated myself. I went through my catalog and took took the bathing suit I wore when I was fondled by Eridan, set it on fire in the sink, sobbing, and then I poured all the apple juice I had in the fire as well because it reminded me of Dave. The fire subsided and I spit on it and stopped smoking. I wrote some more poetry in my notebook and sobbed myself to sleep. Stacia, said the white goo monster, you are almost ready. He disappeared, and I was not in the tundra or the fire. I was on Prospit at a lovely barbecue. On Prospit was Gamzee and Tavris and John, which I was really happy about, and Vriska, who I was really upset to see. Terezi and Karkat were there, but mostly they were trying to get Terezi to stay away from the red tomatoes being roasted on the fire. Hi, John, I sat next to him kindly. Hi, Stacia, he said and smiled with me. I hope you like hot dogs and chicken wings. I told him I loved hot dogs and chicken wings. There will also be bread and ribs. He told me, Ned, I was really excited to eat everything. When we finally got to having the feast, I sat next to John, who was shivering, so he gave me his coat. We toasted marshmallows in front of the bonfire. I want to show you something, said John. Okay. John reached into his pants and he pulled out his large wallet and took out a picture. The picture was him as a baby with a party hat on. He was behind a large cake with vanilla frosting, and there was a handsome white man next to him with kind eyes and a fedora. This was my first birthday, he said. OMG, that is so cute, I said, but I was confused to why he showed it to me. But then I saw the date. OMG, today's your birthday? Yes, it is, he said, smiling. That's why we're having this bonfire. I hugged him. Happy birthday, John! Then Casey came and hugged us. Hey, Gingerbread, I said to her, and John got kind of pissed. Her name is Casey, she said to me, and she is my daughter. Okay, sorry, and happy birthday, I said, walking away, and I hugged John tightly. Karkat saw and glazed his eyes at me with a, bitch, that is my man, look, but I just rolled my eyes because he was dating Dave. Then I started to think about Dave and began to cry. Everyone circled around me, asking what was wrong. Please, just leave me alone, I shrieked and ran off into the distance and begged myself to wake up. Da-da-da-da! Chapter 10! Hey guys, sorry it took me so long to put this up. My friend TJ was really busy. She is the one who wrote the rap for me today, and she also helped me with my vocab in the chapter, where I used larger words. Love you, TJ. I also learned I can copy-paste my chapters, so don't worry about formatting anymore. My dream faded and turned into another dream. It was the Goo Ghost. We were in a blank space. Not a reference, but OMG, I love 1989. With nothing around us. It was just him, me, and nothingness. He took off his fedora and pressed it to his chest. Stacia, you are ready. I gasped because I don't know what I did to suddenly be ready, but I was curious what the truth was, and he thought I was mature, which made me smile. He opened his mouth to talk, but I was awakened by Dave Strider. Dave looked at me and could tell he was crying because his eyelids matched his regular eyes. His sunglasses were off. Baby, what's wrong? I don't want you mad at me anymore, he said. Why would I be? He confessed that he did not send me the prettiest flowers, but that he had only said that because he wanted me to feel like he was the one for me. I was angry at first, Ned me, and I glared at him intensely, but then I realized it was incredibly sweet he lied for me just to look like a stud, but then I realized I got mad at Eridan for nothing. I burned the bathing suit for nothing. Dave causes me so much trouble. I can't stand you, Dave Strider, I screamed at him. Leave now or I will kick you in the ball, I threatened. I probably would, too. I was just so sick of his bullshit. Even though he had amazing abs and was very sexy, I didn't want him any more near me. Please, Stacia, he begged. Please understand you are the one for me, he cried. But I could tell it was just fake crying, and I glared at him harder until he walked out. I realized I had to pee, and when I got to the bathroom, there was a box. I opened the box, and it was a notebook page that was written in red ink, and it said, Dave's rap for Stacia. It went. Last name Strider, middle name YOLO. Stacia, babe, you're so sweet like a Rolo. A girl like you shouldn't be solo. You make my Kokoro pop like a polo. So forget about the mermaid trollo. And remember it's my heart that you stolo. You make my tubes tied just like a bolo. For you I will fight like I'm in a dojo. My love for you, it ain't faux, no. So I am asking that you go on a date with me and we'll drink cocoa, so chocolatey and sweet like a ho-ho. Please say yes, don't say no. You make my heart jailed like you are the popo. You are much smoother ride than a Volvo. The page was filled with tear puddles. I didn't know what to think because I was flattered he was asking me out, and I was impressed by his amazing rap. Thanks, TJ Hart. But I was still angry with him, and I wasn't sure I should give him a chance. One thing was for sure, though, and that was that I yelled at Aridin for no reason. I took a shower, which felt so nice, and got ready and knocked on Aridin's door. He answered, and he was wearing the sexiest robe I'd ever seen, like Hugh Hefner, but if he was a hot teenager instead of an old man. I ogled at his sexy chest. Oh, hi, Stacia, he said casually. His hair was different. It was curly. Aridin, I'm so sorry I got on my knees and started to cry. The tears burned my eyes, and I was all bloodshot, but he looked at me like I was still so pretty and said, Come in. Aridin's room was very purple and had lots of pictures of fish and whales and sea turtles and had tons of wizard stuff. It smelled like black licorice, which I love. I knew this moment was very important because I had to make it up to him that I yelled at him for something Dave did, and I was willing to do anything. He sat on his bed. What's with your hair? I asked. Oh, my hair is naturally curly, he said. Usually I blow dry it with this special waterproof hair max, he said. But I was too depressed to do my hair or even get dressed because of our fight, he said. That made me feel even worse. Well, it still looks good, I said. Thanks. I sat down next to him and poured my guts out to Aridin about how I didn't mean to do him wrong and I blamed the wrong boy for the bad things, and he did nothing wrong and I knew that he gave me the flowers. Oh, I am so relieved, he said and sobbed into my chest. I blushed because he was right near my boobies, and I remember that he touched them once and it was amazing, but now was not the time to get turned on. I played with his curly hair and let him cry. There, I said soothingly and started to cry too. We went further in the bed together, sobbing and stroking each other's hair, and just as we started to kiss, we both fell asleep. We traveled to Durst together in the same dream and stood in front of the goo monster. Who is this? He asked me angrily. Aridin, I said. Kill him, said the goo monster. What? No, I was screaming. But just then, some green-cloaked floating things started whispering scary things, and before you knew it, Aridin's dream self was dead in front of me. I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and stuck my middle finger at the goo monster. He couldn't know the truth I'm about to tell you, Stacia, said the goo monster. No! Fuck you! I yelled. Nothing is worth this! Yes, Stacia, he said. You are. You are the secret to this entire universe.